Good evening, Scorpio. So this is your 2020 forecast using this Lenormand deck. So once again, this is the 2020 forecast for Scorpio. I'm using a Lenormand deck. I'm also going to be using this tarot deck to clarify some more, and then finally an oracle deck to get a final piece of advice for the year of 2020 for the zodiac of Scorpio. So I'm just going to shuffle these cards. Let's get right to it. So what do we have for Scorpio in the year of 2020? What do we have for Scorpio in the year of 2020? What do we have for Scorpio in the year of 2020? So those of you who don't know about Lenormand cards, I'm just going to give you a little tidbit. So they actually originate from France in Napoleonic times. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure how popular they are in the US, but I believe they're a bit more popular in Europe, specifically since they originated in France. So I'm going to lay out all these cards, and then I'll show you like the ones that pop out at me intuitively. So what I'm seeing here is that at the end of 2020, it looks like maybe there was a need to do some studying or to complete, excuse me, I'm gonna take a sip of some tea. So at the end of 2019, I think you had maybe a need to do some studying, whether it be self-studying or do some studying up about something. I'm not really sure what that might entail, but it could be even health related. Like maybe you had some, not necessarily like really serious health concerns, but maybe like something at the end of 2019, whether it be mental health or some form of health related studying, I think, or maybe just your overall well-being. Studying is was required at the end of 2019, kind of going into the beginning of 2020. I see here spirituality. So I think this is maybe a mix of like just overall well-being, whether it be physical or mental or emotional, as emphasized by this tree, which can also represent health. But I see here that it's kind of, it may have affected your home life. It may, and then self-studying or studying about improving your well-being. It looks like it's going to improve your home life in some way. So I can see here with this card that it's definitely been a bit of a journey, maybe in 2019 with this well-being issue or phase that you were in that you needed to study up about. It's been difficult. So I'm just commending you now, Scorpio, that wow, good job for like getting through that, whatever it may be. I mean, going into 2020, it's going towards a positive direction. So for those of you who are adults out there specifically, so this card represents, well, you can kind of see here like bedroom activity, passion, romance, physical chemistry. So I can see there's going to be a spark of that, like a surge of passion coming into your life, like a surge of passion popping up into your life in the middle of 2020. And I see here that the person who's maybe going to bring that is, maybe this is either yourself or someone in your life who has traditionally masculine energy, who's going to bring that in your life, or maybe bring a resurgence of that, like bringing back the spice, I guess, spicing it up, as you could say. But here I see that you should be careful maybe of other people being a little jealous of what you have, or maybe they might see that and think like, oh, I wish I could have that, and they may envy that a little, as represented by this mice card here, trying to steal somebody's dumplings or bread or something. And we have some form of contractual agreement or document. I'm not really sure what this entails, but I can clarify a little bit more with the tarot deck. So I say this document, all these things like with the health issues that you had, and then the going into the re-sparking some romance, I think, or sparking some like romantic physical chemistry with this masculine person or some person in your life, maybe a partner or something. It's going to spark some envy, but then it's also going to, I see here, lead to some kind of binding document or agreement. I would think like maybe like an agreement, some kind of legal document maybe, I'm not sure what that could be, but that's definitely not going to be an easy process, whatever that is. I mean, it could even be like a divorce, or just like marriage, like getting all those papers and documents together. Or maybe even just like a partnership, like finalizing a partnership or some kind of a little agreement or some form of documentation process. It's going to take a while. It's represented by this mountain because it doesn't take a little while. It takes a long while to hike a mountain. But this is going to end great. At the end of 2019, you're going to the sun. So you're really going to be in your element, Scorpio, towards the end of 2019, like the last quarter, probably like September, October-ish. You're going to reach the sun, and then this is going to lead to prosperity, represented by the fish. This is usually financial. Could be other things, like going back to that health thing that we had, and then sparking your romantic physical chemistry, and then dealing with that long documentation process. It's going to have favorable results represented by the sun, and that's going to lead to prosperity of some kind. And then we have the rider card here on the horse. So I see here that you are riding into a phase of stability at the very end of 2020. Is represented by this bear. It's very stable, steadfast, and maybe a bit slow moving, very steady and stable energy, like a bear in the forest, and survivalist energy. I'm getting some very strong survivalist energy with the health issues, conquering that, studying up about that, even like self-study at the beginning of 2020, maybe starting from 2019, going into once again the sparking the romance again, and then the binding document ending favorably here into prosperity, and then going into stability mode. And then at the very, very end of 2020, we have this beautiful night sky. We have the ocean underneath it. It's like, to me, this represents resolution of dreams, or something that you've been maybe, wanting, like wishing would happen, or some kind of resolution, or maybe a solution, like to those health issues or well-being, that phase where you were a bit concerned about your well-being. It looks like it's going to resolve somehow at the very end of 2020, after once again in the middle of 2020, that long documentation process that's going to end favorably with prosperity once again. So you will be in your element at the end of 2020, so that's great. Or actually like at the beginning quarter around September, October, and then going into once again prosperity is represented by the fish. So that sounds like a really good year, Scorpio. So I'm just gonna try to clarify a little bit more about the well-being in the beginning of the year, possibly starting from 2019 going into the beginning of 2020. Okay, so can you clarify please what this well-being, it's way too many cards, and what this well-being issue might be, or how maybe we can do some things to better that. Okay, so here's one card that sort of is calling out. Okay, so here we have 2 cups. So this represents partnerships. I think this really goes back to that card of okay, so that masculine sort of energy, or some form of very stable, almost like paternal, or even just very stable energy, consistent energy that you have in your life, whoever that may be, or maybe that's an aspect of yourself, or even a friend or family member, like a brother or father, or male friend of some kind. So this is really saying, like, when you are struggling with your health issues, or whatever they are, you're self-studying about it, but maybe this is a sign, Scorpio, not to rely on yourself too much. Like, if this is you, see this one figure here, this entity, they're kind of by themselves, and they're trying to like handle all this, trying to study, once again represented by the book, their well-being, or about their well-being, and trying to kind of handle this alone, go it alone. Well, this card I think is saying rely on your partner, or whoever that person is in your life, who is sort of a guide, like a really helpful, consistent figure in your life, who's been there for you. Like, rely on them. Like, it's okay to rely on them. Open up to them, even if you feel like you can't, just try reaching out. And I also wanted to maybe clarify about that document, that sort of binding agreement or document that you are going to have in the middle of 2020. I wanted to see what that might be about. So, okay, we had like 2 cards pop out. So here we have the Star, which is really, I think, this is actually traditionally more Aquarius energy, but I mean, for Scorpio, I mean, I can see that. I mean, you're a water sign, you're very, very intuitive. I can see this resonating with you, Scorpio. So I think maybe the binding document, as indicated by this card, may have something to do with you pursuing your dreams, like your intuitive dreams, something dreamy that maybe you've always wanted to do. And then with this card, there's a woman here. Looks like she's performing some form of witchcraft or something, some kind of ritual. She's looking at the moon, and she's doing something, like she's casting up a spell, or I don't know what she's doing, but it definitely leads me to think of like, this is definitely some Scorpio energy. I see here, like in tune with the moon, intuitive, doing some kind of ritualistic process. But I think this is what it's saying is, okay, so this binding document is represented by the Star card. This is you pursuing your dreams and you really reaching inside yourself, I think, to connect spiritually and intuitively with yourself, and then going through, I think, the ritual, or in this case, like the motions that are required to pursue this dreaminess. So this documentation process may be related to like a new business, a dream, a business venture, a new creative project, or whatever it may be, launching of something new that you've always wanted to do, that maybe appears in your dreams even, like that documentation process that's going to be pretty long. It's going to end favorably. I think that has something to do with it, and this is you connecting to that within yourself and going through the motions that are required to achieve what you want when it comes to these intuitively led dreams that I think have been inside you for a pretty long time. So that's great. And once again, that's going to end favorably. You're going to be in your element. This is probably going to be around September, October, the beginning of the last quarter of 2020, and prosperity as well. Once again, so that's great. And then you're going to be riding into stability. And then once again, at the very end of 2020, this is going to end really nicely with the stars and the ocean. It's resolution, I think. It's peaceful, but it's also just like going back to the dreams, like with the Star card. So I think this goes really, really well together. So if this is you, dreamy, going through that long documentation process, launching that venture that you've always wanted to launch, this is the resolution card for that, I think, at the end of 2020. So that actually makes sense to me. I think everything else is pretty straightforward. I can't really see if there's really anything else that needs to be clarified, because it's all very positive. So lastly, I'm just going to move these cards out of the way, and then I'm going to use this dice here to roll the dice, and then I'm going to use this oracle card to try to get a last piece of advice for you in the year of 2020, Scorpio. Just the last piece of advice. Actually, yeah, okay, let me roll the dice first and see what number pops up. Okay, what else do we have for Scorpio? What last piece of information do we have for Scorpio? Maybe either involving your health or the launching of this new venture. What advice do we have? Okay, so we got 6. So that number, the number 6, may be significant in some way. So just keep that in mind. But that being said, I'm going to use this number 6 to pick out a card. I'm going to pick the 6th card after shuffling. So what last piece of advice, what information do we have for Scorpio going into 2020? What piece of advice do we have for Scorpio going into the year of 2020? What piece of advice do we have for Scorpio going into the year of 2020? Okay, I'm just going to lay out the cards and then pick out the 6th card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 6th card. Wow. Okay, so this goes so well with that card that we got earlier. I think I put it back in the deck, but the partnership, once again, the 2 of Cups earlier that we had, with the 2, I think they were like cherubs or people, their heads together, just like looking at each other in a loving way. So this goes so well with that. And like it said earlier, with these health issues or whatever it may be, well-being issues, something to do with your well-being, spiritual, mental, physical, emotional well-being that you're dealing with early in the year, it really is saying rely on this person. This may not even be a romantic soulmate. It could be like a friendship soulmate, or like some family member, brother, someone, even a sister, I don't know, just a twin maybe, someone in your life who you just feel like is your soulmate, not necessarily on a romantic level, but somebody that you really feel like if you were ever to rely on someone, it could be them. Like you may want to actually rely on them. Like it's okay to reach out and, to rely, maybe when it comes to your well-being issues that you're facing in the beginning, or maybe in that long documentation process period, the phase of that long documentation process. If you ever feel frustrated, I think what it's saying is reach out. Try reaching out to that person in your life, that consistent presence. If sometimes you do feel like you guys are soul partners, soul mates, like a soul friendship, soul sister, soul brother, soul twin, just whatever, whoever they are, rely on them. Scorpio. Okay, so this is all I have for you guys. You amazing, interesting, mysterious Scorpions out there. So I hope this was helpful. Click like, comment, subscribe, and if you have any questions, you could just add a comment in the comment box down below. So I hope this was helpful for you. See you later.